Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's tips and tricks session about Stratodesk and Microsoft AVD. We are grateful to have our Director of Solutions Enablement, Bill Chappell, with us today. And we have Richard Monroe, our Solutions Engineer at Stratodesk, here as well. A few quick items before we get started. We are recording today's presentation. We'll make sure you get a copy of the recording afterwards. Feel free to forward or share with anyone else. We also plan to do a Q&A towards the end. So feel free to enter your questions throughout in the Q&A or in the chat. And then we'll answer as many as we can towards the end. If you do have a question that is specific to you and your organization, we may take note and make sure we get back to you individually afterwards. So just a heads up. And I think that's it. I think we're ready to go, Bill. So I'm gonna stop sharing and
Okay, so let me
okay.
share my screen here real quick. You can see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining. What I wanted to do today was go over a real super solution, truthfully. A lot of us are moving to Azure Virtual Desktop. It just so happens that's where we are in our field right now in our industry. And because it's a really good solution and it's got the right cost associated to it. Um, you know, the other thing, this is also the time of security, right? So we want to be able to deliver the Azure Virtual Desktop experience in the best possible and secure fashion. And so we have our no-touch solution. So just to give you a high level, no touch is there's two parts to no touch. Right now, you're looking at my screen. This is the no touch center. This is a browser based, it can be a SaaS based console. It's a really simple. I can just import this as a virtual appliance. One single console can manage global deployment. Bear with me here. Let me move this guy. And then the other side of this, excuse me, we have NoTouch OS. Here you see a virtual machine that I have on my laptop running NoTouch OS. NoTouch OS is a hardened Linux thin client operating system. And this operating system can run on basically any x86 device. It can also run on small resource devices like a Raspberry Pi, something like that. And you can get this either, you can order your system new with no touch on it, or what a lot of our customers do is they'll extend the life of a system by converting it from a Windows environment or from another, an older unsupported thin client environment. And what I can do is I can convert it to No Touch OS. And again, this is my No Touch OS endpoint. And then, like I said, we saw the console also. So let's start off with the console. Actually, let's start off with the endpoint. What I want to do is let's start off real simple. Let's go and show an AVD connection. So this is a hardened OS. It's a read-only OS, so there's no local data. So it's great for any type of ransomware scenario where um, we want to be able to, eliminate or strictly reduce ransomware at the endpoint level. So it's read only. There's no local data. All the data is stored back in either AVD or some type of cloud entity. Um, and so as a user, I turn my system on, and this is where I come to is we have a local user interface. If you look here, I come and I have these sessions created. I only have the Island and Firefox icons up on the desktop, but I also have some Citrix Enterprise Browser, Azure Virtual Desktop listed here as well. And so this is about Azure Virtual Desktop. So let's go and create a connection. I'm going to go and launch a session. First thing that it's going to do is I need to authenticate into Azure AD. If I had conditional access, I'd be getting MFA right here as well. And so I'm authenticating to Enter ID. I'm sorry, I said Azure AD earlier. And I'm getting my feeds. And so you come down, I have this configured to give me Rail application. So let's go and take a look at what happened. So once I authenticated to Azure Virtual Desktop, you'll notice that I ended up getting these additional Azure Virtual Desktop resources. And then I have my disconnect button here also. But if we take a look, I have 3 different pull groups here. Here's one that has Teams in it. And then here's some with some published applications, right? So, and then we also have full desktop. Let's start off with the full desktop. And so what we're going to do here is really simulate it. And I can automate this as well. I'm going to show you some of this, but I'm going to take you step by step. So this would be simulating the user that, let's say, had Windows 10 device, and they're migrating to Windows 11 in Azure AVD. So we're going to go, this is out port 443. So this is a secure connection. I'm on my home wireless, so there's a little bit of delay here. But just like the end user would see. So here you have my full Windows 11 desktop experience. I'm going to kind of bring in, the other thing, not only is ransomware prevalent today, but the other thing that is kind of recent is endpoint availability. And so let me talk about endpoint availability in this context as well. If you notice, I'm on a Windows laptop right now, and one of the ways that I can have availability at the endpoint is actually through a virtual machine like you see right now. But I would need a live Windows environment in order to have this virtual machine the way I have this configured. However, and I'm kind of pointing back to the CrowdStrike Microsoft issues, right? And so what I can do is I can have endpoint availability in DR a couple different ways. The first thing is I can dual boot. So again, I'm on my Windows laptop. If I have my dual boot set up, what I would be able to do is I would be able to boot into Stratodesk NoTouch OS. You'd also be able to get into a Windows environment or your BYO environment. So in this case, if you were blue screened or your device was not able to access what it needed to do, you could reboot your system. You could alternately go into the alternative environment and you'd be able to get into Azure Virtual Desktop. The other way that we have DR or endpoint availability would be to use a USB stick. So if you had a blue screened endpoint, you could insert a USB stick that has NoTouch OS pre-installed on it, and you can boot up in an alternative environment, and you would have been able to access the system. And then the other way that you can provide high availability or DR for AVD in this case would be a BYO environment where I have my endpoint. I have my home PC endpoint or some other device. Maybe it's an older device, maybe it's a spare device, and I can bring that in and easily convert it to a no-touch OS. So just wanted to bring in a little bit of availability and DR at the endpoint just because it's top of mind. So let's go. Like I said, this is the full desktop. I'm going to log out here properly so that I can get into some other applications. All right, so now we're going back to our local endpoint. Let me show you what it looks like on the back end. Let's go see what we just did here. So again, this is my console that can manage the devices globally. And I see there's some questions in there, Danielle. If you could just kind of keep your eye on them and let me know when a good time to jump in and go over those would be.
Yeah, sounds good. In like maybe 3 more minutes,
Okay.
let's dive into them.
Yeah, perfect.
Right.
So if you take a look, I have this. This is my main console, the main SaaS-based console, like I mentioned, and this is an inherited directory tree. So it really gives me the ability to, it's just like AD or Enter ID, where I can create settings. Here you have this item called group settings, but this is similar to group policy. And this is kind of like my group policy or my group settings. And if you notice, this is done at the my devices level. So this would, if I made a change at this level, it would include everyone in both my prod and my QA groups. If I come down here to prod and I go to its group settings, I can set policies or individual settings that would apply to the production group. And I can come down here to the Bangalore group. So you can see I can go and I have a very easy ability to go and set the configurations that I want. So if you notice, I have a prod and a QA set up here, and I have different configurations set up. And if we come down here, this is where my device is. Actually, I want to show you a real neat little trick on that. So, whoops, I didn't log out of this properly. Come on, sorry. Let's just do. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, so now we're back to our local user interface. Here in a second. And what I want to show you now is what we call the identity key. And this is a way, if you notice, I was showing you around where this endpoint was. I showed you that it was in the Bangalore group. And so now I'm going to go a little bit further. And this is it's really a great help desk tool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a hotkey. It's Control Alt I. And you'll notice there's an identification request sent. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here to my console. And again, I think this device is in Bangalore, but I'm not quite sure. So let's go take a look at what happened here. So I come over here to my notifications, and you'll see there's a notification that VirtualBox NTOS sent an identity message. So what I can do is I can come over here to my Identify tab. And here is my device that sent the identify key. So it's kind of like a lot of people will use this for help desk. So it's a real simple tool for a user to say, hey, I need some help, because the admin can just come over here to the identify, and here is basically a queue of the folks that need assistance. So I'm going to come over here, VirtualBox NTOS. Let's go and click and get some more detail here. You can see, I can see all the configuration, but I want to go and reveal in the tree. I want to know, where is this device? And so here we go. I'm able to go and verify that this is my VirtualBox. All right. So now let's go and take a little bit closer look at my Azure Virtual Desktop connection. And I'm going to show you how I made that connection, some of the options that I have, and such. So what I did here is I created a connection, and it's real simple. We can actually do it here. I just choose, if I want to create a connection just for this device, I could highlight this device and come over here to new connection. If I wanted to make a new connection for Bangalore, I could do similar, make the connection at this level. Or if I wanted to come over here at the prod level. But let's go. I'm going to come here and show you what a new connection looks like. And so here, what I could do is I could type in AVD, and then the same for Windows 365, either or. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to connection mode. This is really simple. I've actually seen folks that overcomplicated it. But if I come here to my connection mode, and I'm going to choose Azure Virtual Desktop Windows 365. And truthfully, you can pretty much, I'm pretty sure that alone will get you to your connection. Let's go and see what else I had set up. So
Okay,
I had,
I think
yeah,
we're good to start jumping into some questions if this is a stopping
yeah,
point, if
okay.
that's okay.
Tell you what, let me go through this connection real quick, and then I'll
Okay,
stop and do some
sounds
Q&A.
good.
All right, perfect. All right, so you see I have my connection mode. I did the check mark, and I choose Azure Virtual Desktop Win 365. Come down here, and I have, I choose a full screen window size, but you can change that. I wanted to be able to show that connection in my lower right taskbar. As you saw, I had the Azure Virtual Desktop inside of my Start menu. I did not have the icon turned on, although if I wanted to, I could just come here and that icon could turn on. I could also auto launch this connection. So let's say that I am converting from a Windows 10. I have a Windows 10 device, and these devices can't become Windows 11 devices. So what I did is I converted them to NoTouch OS. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to auto start at system boot. So what this would do is once I turn that system on, the first thing that's going to come up is that enter ID logon prompt. And so it's going to be a Azure Virtual Desktop only device. and it would very easily simulate the local desktop. You can see here I can change the icon if I want. I have an AVD icon, or you can choose your own. And then I'm going to come in here into the Azure Virtual Desktop, Windows 365, more configurations. And so if you notice, and I didn't show you this, all I did was a full desktop, but you notice that I did have published applications available. And that's from this setting here, Start Menu Integration. I have it turned on. And that is what is giving me. I'll show you what that looks like here later on, but tell you what, for now, let's jump into and take a look at some of these Q&A questions.
Thanks, Bill. And Richard's
Sure.
helping
Oh
answer
yeah, I
some of
see
them.
that. Okay, so
Yeah.
it
The
looks
first
like
one, yeah,
yeah, it
go
looks
ahead.
like Gary's starting off. How are printers and other devices in the local environment made available to the remote session? And are there any considerations for compatibility? Richard Monroe, do you want to take this one? I know
Yeah,
you wanted to bring up some advanced printing features. So yeah, can you take that?
absolutely. It's a brand new feature, probably a couple months old, printing. I would say we've taken the headache away from printing and Linux printing in general, right? We used to, Bill, if you want to go up to the top just real quick for the tabs, the printing tabs. You used to have to come in, find the printer IP address, get the specific PPD files, name the printer exactly how it is in your Windows machine. With IPP, we've taken all of that headache away. So if you go into services, there's under the cups setting, there's a new feature here. It's called Cups Browse for Printer. You probably might want to do Control F, Bill. It's probably way
Yeah,
down there.
I figured I'd give it a try. Cups, he said.
Yeah, Cups.
There we go.
Yep. So you want to have the cups service on. It's on by default. And then specifically here, this browsing, show printers on local network. If you turn that on and then reboot a machine, all the printers on your network that are IPP enabled will be auto discovered from NoTouch OS. So when you go into the OS, if you have a browser set there, you can go in and print locally from the OS. What's cool though, with your AVD connection, in the AVD settings, there is a printer forwarding switch. If you turn that switch on, those printers that were auto discovered, without any IP address or drivers or anything, are going to be passed through to your AVD session. So then you'll be able to print in AVD, not only AVD, but Citrix, VMware, anywhere really, with this functionality. So I really like it. It's taken, like I said, a lot of the pain points for printing away.
So here's that printer forwarding then you were talking about, huh, Richard?
Yes.
So that's what would get those auto discovered printers then into your Azure Virtual Desktop.
Exactly. And then, so if just to take this a little bit further, if you are in an environment that has, multi printers, you can take from No Touch Center in the debug information, that IPP printer with the IPP address is there. So you can take those addresses and use the printer settings, that printer tab, because now there's a new drop down there, so you can specifically point to printers like, hey, I want printer XYZ on this user's machine, so you can navigate printing easily. Again, still no drivers or anything like that needed, just the IPP address.
Yeah, I like that, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next one up then is
Do you want to take the next one, Richard? It's a follow-up to one of your previous questions.
Yeah, so smart card forwarding, your YubiKeys, RF card readers, all of that. Again, it's another switch inside of your AVD connection that you can turn that on. And then like any other connection, that smart card redirection is going to work. Now the authentication piece, that's still not released on the Microsoft side for public preview. So when that authentication becomes available for us, I'm sure we'll start to implement that as well.
Great.
And then how about I think we got about the Rob's question there, Richard. I know you do have on the encryption side. So we do have an option for full device encryption. The other thing that you can do though to make it even more secure, you don't even need a hard disk with this solution. We have a couple scenarios. One of them is the USB boot. The other one is a Pixie boot where no local disk is required whatsoever. So that or encrypted disk are the two options there. How about local authentication, Richard? How do you talk about that?
Yeah, so endpoints are not domain joined. There's no local authentication on the endpoints. Just as Rob said, there's nothing really that end user is going to be able to do on that endpoint unless you have, a browser connection. But then even the browser connection, you can set up proxies and all of that for to, whitelist and blacklist different web pages. Other than that, all the authentication is going to be, on that VDI. So they have to have rights in order to get into those environments.
Awesome. Thank you. I think oh yeah, that does seem to be the last one. Oops, maybe one more here.
Yes, we do support Improvada.
Okay. Yeah. Great questions, everybody, by the way. Yeah, we do support Improvada. Who else do we support at that level? I know AuthX, Beyond
I
Trust.
would say Improvada and AuthX are the two big players right now.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you, Richard.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Yeah, so to continue then, I haven't shown a published application or what
oh,
Microsoft calls a rail application. Yeah, bear with
so
me.
we do have one more question,
Oh, okay.
Bill. And then, if you want to take 2 minutes and show that, that's great. And then we'll wrap up. No worries. We like
Yeah,
answering the
no,
questions.
Rob, that's actually Richard, do you see this question? I think this is on the roadmap. Do you know?
Yeah, today, no. Tomorrow, maybe. Right now, we kind of like how things are where it's not domain joined. You don't have to worry about, authentication, another point of failure, and all the authentication's done where it's supposed to be at that particular connection type.
And then yes, we do have dual monitor support. How many monitors can we support, Richard? Is it more than
I think I've seen a customer with
four?
4.
Four?
Awesome.
Perfect. All right. So now I'll move on. Then let me see, where are we? So it looks like I have to log in here again. So let me show you this login process here again. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and show you a Rail application and how that's utilized. Okay, so again, I'm going to authenticate into Entra AD, and if we had conditional access, I would have had MFA right there as well. All right, so here I have all of my resources. So these are the different feeds that were given from Microsoft, right? And we went into Session Desktop earlier. Now I didn't get a chance to test this, so bear with me here just in case. But let's go and we will run a published application. Let's do paint. Okay, sorry about that. I told you I didn't get a chance to test that. Let's try another one here. So in the Rail application, it's just going to publish the application itself and not the full desktop. So we should be getting a word pad up here shortly. Where are we, word pad? Try this again here. I apologize. I didn't get a chance to test this before our session here. Could be this pool. Let me try another one here. There we go. Looks like I'm hoping this is a published application here. It looks like it is. Oops, we got a full desktop again. Try another one. Let me try one more here. See if this works. Just Edge. Here we are. So this is, hoping this is our published application. And you can tell that it is a published application from the fact that I can minimize it. And I can also make it function like a locally based application. So this application here is coming from Azure Virtual Desktop. And you can see what I can do here. It's typically not a browser, but let's say it's another application. But if you notice, I have a local user interface and a local workspace here. And what I can do is I can also execute other applications. I'll use Firefox as an example. And so this Firefox browser is going to go and log me into Microsoft 365.
Awesome, Bill. And I think too, like there's so much with AVD that we could easily, you know, fill another hour. But I think, you know, we definitely want to extend an invitation that people can meet with us. Feel free to contact us. We're happy to run you through specific questions you may have. For those of you who are customers, feel free to send us a support ticket if you're seeing something specific in your instance. But you know, other than that, thank you so much, Bill, for guiding us through this. Thank you for answering all the questions, Richard and Bill. If you have more
I think we do.
questions,
Looks like we got
yeah,
a
you
couple
can.
more here.
Okay.
All right. Historically, we've had issues on similar OSs and platforms with USB scanning. Is there anything built in that will help with this? Have we looked into other vendors historically like Fabula Tech to assist, but hoping you might have a built-in or better solution? Any thoughts on that, Richard Monroe?
But when it comes to AVD, we now have built-in Fabula Tech support there in the AVD connection. We can take this one offline, Thad, if you want to email Bill and I directly or reach out to support and definitely look at this issue.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the amazing questions today. I don't think we've ever had so many questions. So thank you for participating and helping to drive our conversations today. Um, we will pick back up another time. Thank you so much for joining us and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep. Take care.